Welcome to the Recovered Addict podcast. Yes, we use the word recovered. Episode 1, we talked about that.
That's
so
right.
Some of you are here and you're listening, and I want to talk to our host, just sitting right over here, new to podcasting.
Dwayne,
That's awesome.
Frank.
Dude, you've been doing
this is my first podcast, bro.
The last 2, we hit it out of the park. So the third one today, of course, our ego wants to say, we did amazing. We did great. Thousands of people are listening to us.
Probably the best podcast ever.
Yeah, best ever. You know how Trump does? He's like, the best ever.
Exactly.
He always puts his hands out like this and does
funny.
Not that we're political enemy. I always say, take the right, the left, both wings, and just throw the whole bird out.
Throw the whole bird out. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we're not affiliating with any political party. And also, you know, Recovered Addict podcast, of course, a little controversial, but we're not affiliating with any specific recovery group either.
Right. Yeah, 100%.
You know, we're here on our own, trying to practice spiritual principles as a way of life.
Walking down the only road we've ever known. It's like an 80s. Like a drifter, I was born to walk alone. Yeah. So one of the things that I want to get into today, we got into the physical dimension, the emotional dimension, and we're going to hit heavy on the spiritual dimension. Just for the simple fact is, the spiritual dimension is where it's at. Mm-hmm. You know, they're speaking of songs, there was like a 90s hip hop, where it's at. I got 2 turntables and a microphone, but you know, where it's at.
That was
for
your
us,
generation.
Yeah, that was my generation, not yours. Because you're
35.
Yeah. I'm at the big 50. But spiritual dimension to us is the key to recovery.
Absolutely. We're also still in our module 1, understanding addiction, and now approaching that from the spiritual dimension. What does that mean? How am I understanding addiction? Without a clear understanding of the problem, I don't really have a clear direction to head in for a solution. It's important that we, as recovered individuals practicing a spiritual lifestyle, understand that I'm suffering from a spiritual malady. There's something inside of me that is sick. Otherwise, why would I need this outside thing in order to be okay? Why would I have this delusional seeking, this selfish, self-centered, run-you-over attitude to get whatever it is I want in order to be okay? Nobody seeks anything unless they believe the having of it is going to make them better, happier.
That's good, yes.
Why would I seek any? I'm not intentionally trying to hurt myself. Most people aren't, unless you're a little psychotic.
Yeah, and then this can happen in relationships where I need them so that I can feel better.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can be addicted to relationships. I can be addicted to constantly having someone around. Absolutely. Yeah, addicted to work. I have that.
Yeah. Same with me. I think the entrepreneurial part lends itself to addiction.
Yeah.
We'll have to do a whole podcast on that because I think that desire for, and you had talked about it last one was so good and helped me out, was that desire for more and more and more. Well, that can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing.
Yeah.
More donuts for me are more proving that I'm good enough. You know, all of that's the same. You know, that mechanism in my brain, it's all the same. It's all just, yeah, go do this. This is good for you, Jason, where it's my ego talking and it's not good. You know, you're better than everybody else. You work harder.
Yeah.
You know, it's
that's when the ego can mask itself and I look pretty because I have entrepreneurial spirit. Oh yeah, I'm running 3 businesses. I'm running 4 businesses, but I'm killing myself. I don't sleep. My hair's falling out.
Yes.
I have stress.
Well, it's like those
stress.
I mean, you're in the fitness industry. It's like those, you know, and you're a bodybuilder and all that stuff. So you know, you have the 1% body type thing. But when you go on Instagram and you look at these fitness models, they test them. They've, you know, reluctantly done blood tests and stuff like that. And they find that inside a lot of shit is going on that's bad. You know what I mean? Like super high cholesterol, super high blood pressure. They may be taking illegal substances to get there, you know.
Absolutely.
You know, performance enhancing drugs, all these different things. So outside looks amazing. Like your every picture on Instagram, but then you see, you know, several months later, you see a thing of them in the hospital. You know, at 27 years old, having a heart attack. You know, so that's the thing that you have to look at. It's like the ego wants the Instagram look, you know, but inside, that's what you really got to deal with.
And that's what we're talking about today. My spiritual approach to navigating the world. If I'm hurting spiritually and I'm unaware of it, it's easy to have misguided direction, misguided ideas of what's going to help. Because if I don't know any better, this bottle, this alcohol, oh, this makes me feel better. This must be the direction I head in. If I don't know any better, oh, this sex, this relationship, this makes me feel better. I have to have that in order to be okay. And enough of that unconscious behavior can rewire my neocortex, the chemicals produced in my brain, to be a normal part of life. That's just the way I'm conditioned. That's just how I'm going to go through the world. I need this outside thing in order to be okay. Very dangerous with the Instagram, very dangerous with the constantly comparing my insides to somebody else's outsides.
Yeah,
they look so much better than me. I feel horrible about how I look. And people starve themselves. Or like you were talking about, taking whatever medication or supplement they have to take. The starving themselves is the big deal about the fitness models. And
and they don't realize that picture was done pre-contest, but they normally don't walk around looking like that.
No, I've been able to, and I'm grateful I had this experience, but I've competed in 7 different competitive bodybuilding shows. And when you take that level of fitness, we successfully take health to an unhealthy extreme.
Yes.
It's like, I got 2 speeds. I'm all or nothing. That's the way I drank.
So I'm going to be
the way I drive.
super healthy, but really super unhealthy.
Really,
so bodybuilding could be kind of an addictive.
Absolutely.
An addiction.
It appeals to people who have addictive personality because all it takes is everything you got. I'm going to dedicate everything I have to looking a particular way.
So instead of getting blackout drunk, I'm going to go to the gym 2 or 3 times a day.
Correct.
Yeah.
I'm going to burn my muscle tissue. I'm working out so much. And you know, that's a subculture in itself. Bodybuilding is a wild world. I was in that world for a lot of years. Now I own my own personal training business, and I'm honored to take my clients, you're one of them, through their own journey of health and wellness. And you know what? You know, Jordan Peterson likes to talk about order and chaos a lot. It's the oldest Taoism type of, one of the oldest teachings there is. And you have the yin yang, the order and chaos, and too much order. And I'm 3% body fat on stage looking lean. And you look that way one day a year, but I'm ready to faint. I'm ready to fall over. My body is so depleted. And too much chaos. I'm 400 pounds overweight. I don't even get off the couch. Really, I can't even move my own body. It's too much chaos. I have no direction. I don't know how to treat my metabolism. I don't know how to treat my organs. I don't know how to take care of myself. So too much order and too much chaos, both of those things are not good for us.
Right.
The proper place for us is that thin line, dancing that line in the middle of that yin yang, where it's malleable, it changes. We need order, we need chaos. We can't have too much of either one. So helping clients find their own spiritual journey, their own fitness journey with a fitness program is a joy for me.
Well, I know when it comes to addiction, as it is with anything, that physical dimension that we talked about, and then the emotional dimension, the spiritual dimension, and we say this in our module, from a spiritual perspective, addiction can be seen as a misguided search for wholeness or peace.
That's so spot on. I love the Greek etymology of perfection, because that's again to the bodybuilding reference. You want to look perfect on stage, or whatever the reference may be. I want to have a perfect relationship.
Right.
Then I'll be okay. I want to have a perfect bank account. Then I'll be good. And the Greek etymology of the word perfect is whole. It never meant without blemish. It never meant sparkling, sterling, so beautiful.
Right.
Perfection just meant whole. If I'm coming from the spiritual dimension, and this is going to be a spiritual podcast, we're going to talk a lot of spiritual principles. I believe strongly I am not going to recover from any addiction without a spiritual solution.
Yes, 100%.
If I don't have a spiritual solution, there's no chance for recovery.
There's none, because you can't white knuckle something. You can't will something into existence without understanding deeply what's going on. And it's it's to know thyself.
Very good.
You know what I mean? That was put up all over, the ancient Greeks
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Know thyself.
Know thyself.
That's the whole desire, mentally, physically, and emotionally and spiritually. Know thyself.
Absolutely.
And you can't heal until you know yourself.
Very good. Very good. So if I know myself, if I know that my identity is grounded in spiritual dimension, I'm a God conscious, a present being. From that space, I can be whole. That part of me is infinite. That part of me is connected to source. That part of me is not subject to life or death. It's not subject to time. It's whole. It's already perfect. Eckhart Tolle likes to say, be what you already are.
That's so good. Yes.
Be whole.
Yeah.
Whole. So if I'm in a conditioned pattern, we were just talking about this at the gym, a destructive loop of disillusionment, a destructive loop of dishonesty, of seeking outside things in order to make me okay, I'm not aware that I'm whole. I'm definitely not being what I already am.
Yes.
Be what you already are. You already are whole because you already have connection to source.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah.
So if I have 35 years of conditioning,
right.
worry about this money. Or I have 20 years of conditioning, drinking this substance makes you feel better. I'm just going to do what I know works. So we're very interested in shifting the paradigm here. We're very interested in getting to a place of complete willingness to do something different. And unfortunately, I have to really go down the rabbit hole with this misguided search in order to reach a bottom. Recovery programs say all the time, the sufferer must hit rock bottom.
Yeah, and I like the word misguided search because it lends to, I always like to look at us as being on a hero's journey. Each of us, and so you can go past that. All movies are made off that. Star Wars was built off all that. And you could go and I think Campbell was the guy's last name that made the hero's journey. You can go and read all of that and understand it. But there's always this part of the hero having to meet the teacher. And the teacher, we always think of it being some wise guru, somebody that is, all knowing, and you're going to be like swept away and they're going to give you all the keys to life in a bullet point format and you're going to just be changed forever.
Yeah.
But the teacher on the journey is constant. And you don't know, your mom may be the teacher. You know what I mean? Or your dad. And you see the things that your addiction is related to the things that you haven't dealt with your relationship with your parents. And so your parents become a teacher because that shows itself because what you've been doing on this misguided search for wholeness or peace, what you've been doing is not, and we'll get into upper limits and stuff like that, but because of them, I'm this, because if they were okay, if my parents were okay and they didn't raise me this way, then I would be fine. I wouldn't be an alcoholic, or I wouldn't be a drug addict, or I wouldn't be 400 pounds.
Yeah.
Whatever your addiction is. Mine is food, guys, just so you know. Probably more on the, I wouldn't say sexual per se, because I'm not like a sex addict or something, but it's more like seeking wholeness in relationships, and then like bouncing from relationship to relationship. And then obviously like 2 year, I get the 2 year mark. After 2 years, it's all blown up.
It's like Wile E.
I blow it up.
Wile E.
Like every
Coyote
time.
does that.
It's because it's just too good. I just can't have that much peace and wholeness in my life. I gotta have the chaos.
Well, upper limit problem.
Yeah, it's upper limit. But I want to get to this because you were talking about this the other day. This whole idea of the hero's journey and then the options that you have when you have a teaching moment and you slay the dragon. I think this is really, really good at this moment because the teacher is your so-called suffering. The teacher is your addiction.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So you have to, on the hero's journey, you have to go and not only be taught by that addiction, but you have to go overcome that. And you have all the tools. We always say you have all the tools and the power in you. But when you're going to that, whatever type of dragon it may be in your life, what are the choices that you have? Because I think this is so good. Was it Jordan Peterson again that was talking about this? Yeah, go ahead and share this.
Jordan Peterson's analogy of, the hero journey. And, it's important to say first that I have hit a bottom. I've
Yes.
had a lot of teaching from my suffering because my selfish, destructive behavior is causing a lot of, I'm getting a lot of consequences now.
Yes.
Like initially it was fun.
Yes.
I don't need a hero's journey when I'm just having a good time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeking a hero's journey when my life needs to change. I was presented with the opportunity of recover or die. If you go down this path,
Right.
that's death. I got very close to experiencing that. I got as close to experiencing death from my destructive addiction as I ever want to get. That presented me with a willingness or a bottom to try and do something different. And in Jordan Peterson's analogy of the hero's journey is there's two types of heroes in the world. First type of hero is the type of hero that goes out into the wilderness, confronts the dragon, slays the dragon, and then comes back and shares the spoils with the community.
Yes.
And in our addiction, that dragon is the addiction. That dragon, that wilderness, that chaos, that the dark night, that's our teacher. That's the dragon. I had to be willing to go into the wilderness, confront the destructive dragon. We slay the destructive dragon by shining laser point awareness on the things that are kicking my ass.
Yes.
Being willing to do something different and start heading in that direction. And now we're presented with a beautiful opportunity to now share those gifts with the rest of the community. The second type of hero is the type of person that confronts the tyrannical structure, the controlling leadership. This would be Pharaoh, and Moses comes in to free his people. That type of hero rips down the tyrannical structure and is prepared to rebuild it. This is me and the structure of my mind.
Right.
My conditioned thinking. I need that outside thing in order to be okay. In me, it's 35 years old. If we're going spiritual dimension, it's much older than that. I'm carrying generational, ancestral wounds, hurts, whatever it may be.
Right.
Which allows me to be the victim of generational wounds, hurts, unconsciousness. And then I can just perpetuate the unconsciousness and try and check out because this is too difficult to feel. I want to feel something else. So confronting the tyrannical structure of my conditioned mind, my fear, my worry, my anger, tearing that structure to the ground and being prepared to rebuild it with spiritual principles, spiritual affirmations, prayers, meditations. This is the hero's journey. The best type of hero does both those things.
Yes.
The best type of hero slays the dragon,
right,
and tears down the tyrannical structure.
Yeah, of the mind, because the mind is
Correct.
the illusion. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
You believing in your emotion, you believing in those thoughts,
Very
and
good.
then allowing them to control you to the point of, because your mind only knows the programming of, for me, 50 years. So that's it from, and we were even talking about that, like in the womb, the things that your mom was saying, your dad, you catch all that stuff. So these loops, these thought pattern loops begin to form. And then next thing you know, you're just running off this program. Jason Rigby's program is pretty simple. What am I afraid of today? How can fear manifest itself? Oh, I need to get really angry at this person because I'm kind of fearful that they're going to take my job.
Yeah.
Or I need to get angry at this because I'm fearful that I'm going to lose my relationship. The cool part about it is my fear is it always comes true when I really delve deep into it.
That's because you're a powerful manifestor.
Yes, I'm a creator.
You can create your own world. I can manifest
destructive relationship. I could create.
Yes, I can manifest heavy stuff quickly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we don't realize how powerful we are.
Yeah.
When I get fully into my fear, I can really screw everything up.
Yeah.
It's
And
amazing.
It's powerful. Our job in rebuilding that structure is now, what do I want to manifest? Do I want to be the victim of my life, or do I want to be the creator of my life?
Yeah, and I want to get into, because I think this is really important, what you talked about. And this misguided search for wholeness or peace, this part is really, really important. It's like, what does wholeness and peace look like for me? And can I define that with clarity? And I think there's a lot of fog, and you've mentioned this where you're kind of just walking around in the fog. There's a lot of fog that's going on with understanding what wholeness and peace looks like for me. I know I'm an addict.
Yes.
I get that.
Yes.
I know I have a problem with this, or this, but I'm in this fog. Like wholeness and peace, I don't even know what my life is so chaotic. I'm just living from moment to moment, trying not to drink, trying not to do drugs. I don't even have a concept of what wholeness or peace looks like. How can someone begin to establish that, or begin to shift their thought process and go towards that clarity?
That's an excellent question. That's what we want to address in our modules as we go through the process here.
What does wholeness and peace look like to you?
Well, understanding that whole means without void, without lack.
Right.
I don't need a particular thing in order to be okay. I already am okay. The whole idea of be what you already are. And then peace, this peace is so elusive. It's like serenity. I don't know what the heck serenity means. What does that mean? That means inner peace. That means on the inside, I'm perfect the way I am.
And nothing external is going to screw with that.
No. When we talked about this last class, our last podcast, if I can be independent from my outside circumstances, I'm mastering my environment. If I'm mastering my environment, I have emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is the same as serenity. Is the same as inner peace. However, for a person who is conditioned to live in chaos, who is walking through the fog, that inner peace is going to feel really weird.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's like, what the heck is this? There's nothing. There's no fire I need to put out. There's nothing crazy going on right now. That's going to feel weird at first.
Yeah. Like I caught my boyfriend cheating, so now I normally go do drugs or drink a bottle.
Yes, and then cheat back.
Whatever
the story is.
So now I'm in like a halfway decent relationship. What do I do now?
Yes, it's going to feel really weird.
Yes.
It's a great opportunity for an upper limit to sneak in. Upper limit problem.
Let's define this.
ULP is what I experienced. This is from Gay Hendricks and one of his books, The Big Leap. And I don't know how to experience this much love, abundance, and success. My conditioning does not allow me to experience this much love, abundance, and success. What can I do unconsciously to drop myself back down to my normal state of existence, my normal pain and suffering?
The comfort level.
Yes, I'm comfortable with this much pain and suffering.
Right.
I have 35 years of it. That's all I know. So that's the rebuilding of the structure of my mind.
I like to think of it like, for me, it's this way, because we battle this every summer and being like money worrying all the time. So the thermostat that I have out here, right? So I would like it to be at 71, 72. It'd be great. But because I'm trying to save money with the air conditioning, we live in Albuquerque, so it can get 90s and high 90s and 80s. I'll put it to 76. Now, 76, I'm not very comfortable, but I know I'm saving money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? 74, I'll compromise and do 74, just to make sure that I'm, at that level. But 76 is like, I'm uncomfortably comfortable. So this range from 72 to 76, 72 is making me worried. I'm feeling good, but I'm worried constantly.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, and Gay Hendricks talks about this, it's like a thermostat.
Yeah.
And so when things go so well and so good, like you get a promotion at work, I need to cheat on my wife. I need to go.
Yes, I've
gone
binge. I've gone past that thermostat setting.
Yes.
I don't know how to handle this much love, abundance, and success. I don't know how to handle the inner peace.
Right.
How do I handle inner peace? So getting back to your question about defining wholeness, defining inner peace, both of those, we're tiptoeing in the same language here. I'm perfect the way I am. I'm complete the way I am. I'm there's not a void. I'm not in lack. I don't need to seek something right now. I'm whole. I have peace. Both those things kind of walk hand in hand.
Because you have those things. You are
all the time.
Completely whole and completely peace. And we're blowing people's minds right now because they don't understand that.
No,
They're like, no, I'm
makes,
not.
No, it makes zero sense.
Right.
That's why we're interested in tearing down the old structure of my mind that says I'm not whole. You know what? In our teaching, in our a lot of the teachings that I've been exposed to, we always talk about sex status and security.
Ooh, I like this.
Yeah, so sex status
The
and
three
security.
S's.
I have let's remember here. I have a misguided search for wholeness and peace in my addiction.
So I need to go to security.
Yes, so security always transfers for us into money. If I have the right money, then I'll be okay. That outside thing is going to make me okay.
So I'm chasing that.
Sex, if I have the right relationship, if I have enough of the right type, if it's more, I'm getting more.
If I want this person, I can conquer them.
And they want me back.
Yeah, I need them to want me back.
Exactly. Then I'll be okay. Status is we like to correlate status with prestige. Prestige is dangerous for addicts because it serves the ego. If it's taken to an extreme. Prestige is, I want to be viewed as a leader. Look at me. I actually know best. The rest of you should follow me.
Look at my title. Look at this.
Follow
what
me.
I've created.
Yeah. So that's status. Problems of sex, status, and security. Usually, I mean, those are like big categories. Those are
No, I like
broad
those
categories.
Though. Yeah.
But that's a understanding of what I'm willing to chase and seek in order to be okay if I'm behaving in the delusion of my addiction. A, we need to wake up to the delusion.
Right.
B, I need to be willing to seek a different type of life. C, I need to have the realization that I have a God-sized hole in the middle of me from my destructive addiction behavior that has been going on for years. And I'm using this sex, status, and security to try and fill this hole up.
Yes.
And because it's not God-sized, it doesn't work. I don't feel whole.
No.
And I don't feel peace.
No, I mean, we have people probably listening to the podcast right now that maybe multimillionaires, maybe have, everything, the nice house, the nice car. They're looking at it. They're looking at it and being, I just kind of, I've done that. The first, I went from homeless to being successful. And like the first salary I got where it was like 6 figures years and years ago, it was like 6 figures. And I was like, holy smokes, I broke into like the 100,000 mark, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And then I started getting these big paychecks. And then I was like, I can't spend this much money. I mean, I could be stupid, but I'm not stupid enough to I'm not going to go to the Louis Vuitton store, and blow my whole paycheck, that type of thing. And so I was like, well, what can I do with my money? Like, I'm making like money. And at the time that was a lot of money to me, being homeless and then going to that. That's a lot of money. That's average wage probably for a lot of people. But I was like, I don't know what to do. And then I started making more of those paychecks, and then my income began to grow. And then I was like, this didn't make me feel better.
Yeah. Seeking the thing.
Yeah, I thought that money, it would make me. I thought money would make me feel better.
It's going to fill up this God-sized hole in the middle, right, and then I'll be okay. I had the relationship.
Right.
I killed myself slaving 3 different jobs, 4 different jobs, making more money than I ever made in my life, and I'm still uncomfortable on the inside. When am I willing to prioritize being whole? When am I willing to prioritize having peace? Am I making inner peace a priority in my life? If so, what does that look like?
Yeah, that's the hard question.
It doesn't look like me chasing 3 different women.
No.
Then I'll be fine.
Right.
It doesn't look like me slaving 4 different jobs, because then I'll be okay. Because I got the thing, I got the 4 jobs, and I still wasn't okay. So an understanding of, I will not be whole, I will not have inner peace from the world of form. The world of form is not going to give that to me. What we're talking about here is the world of spirit. Spirit is the only thing that's going to be able to fill that spiritual void. I need to stop looking for outside things to make me okay on the inside.
So whenever we look at this, because the next part is it's a seeking of external solutions to internal pain or emptiness. So there's no such thing as an external solution. The wording is we need to, that you're looking, that's a facade. But I want to get into combining this wholeness or peace with the seeking of external solutions because I have this emptiness. And it may not be pain per se. Some people may have a deep pain and they use a bottle or drugs or whatever. Maybe they were, God forbid, maybe they had something super horrific happen to them, as a teenager or something like that. You have a lot of
Trauma.
a lot of trauma, whether it's child abuse or being, raped or something like that, super horrific. And so that's pain that you're carrying around. I get that part, as far as understanding that deep pain. And so you want to clear that pain with alcohol, drugs, food, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But the emptiness, that's the part that gets me, is like, because I've always battled depression, and I know my depression is self-pity, but my depression creates emptiness, like this empty feeling where I was like, oh, I did get a big paycheck, but I don't feel anything. Am I supposed to feel something? Or I'm at like one of my kids' birthday party and I'm like, everybody's happy and laughing. And I'm just sitting there like, this is my kid's birthday party. Why am I not feeling any emotion? Like towards it? I should feel like happy and want to go cut the cake. Instead, I just want to sit here and hold a beer, and just kind of watch everybody, and I don't, there's like emptiness feeling. And I think a lot of people are at that empty stage. And it's an explanation of not just seeking the external solutions, but it's an explanation of not understanding who you truly are. And I want to get into this, and I want you to kind of talk about this a little bit, is the understanding of the spirit, the higher self, the God in you. Maybe you can approach it in a way, kind of in a practical way, where somebody could understand who they really are. Like, who are you?
Oh, I love it. I love it. Now we're discussing my identity.
Yes.
Very easy to identify with the world of form. Very easy to identify with my paycheck. I got the 6-figure paycheck. That's who I am. Look at me. That's prestige. Very easy to identify with my relationship. Look at how gorgeous she is. Look at who's on my arm. What type of man do I have to be if she's on my arm?
Yes.
Very easy to identify with a relationship. Very, very easy to identify in the world of form. And if I'm lost in addiction and simultaneously trying to identify with the world of form, usually the world of form is running away from me because I'm behaving in such a selfish, destructive way. I'm losing the jobs. So if my identity is my job and I lost the job, who am I? If my identity is my relationship and I lost the relationship, who am I? Am I nobody? Should I kill myself? That's where I went. I went thoughts of suicide because I lost the relationship. That was my identity. That's who I was. That's still delusional. If my identity is based in transient things, I'm headed for trouble. The world of form is extremely transient. Everything fluctuates. Jobs come and go. Relationships come and go. None of that is going to be forever. It's the destiny of all form to eventually go away. All form. So, what do we have left? Vertical dimension, world of spirit, consciousness, presence, God, soul, love, eternity. We use many terms because any one term limits it. You remember from last class. If my identity is grounded in my consciousness, that's not going anywhere.
Yes, that's good.
That's not going anywhere.
Right.
Those things, that eternal part of me that is formless is not transient. That's with me forever. So if my identity is grounded in something that is forever, then I'm on solid ground. Then I can build from there and I can start to honor the world of form. It's important to have jobs. It's important to have relationships. It's important to be able to provide for my family. But if those things are who I am, I'm really in a lot of trouble when they start to change and shift and mold. My kids today are 10, 6, and 2. They're not going to need me in 10 years the same way they need me now.
Right.
So my role as father, if that's my identity, I'm in a lot of trouble as soon as they don't need me. I'm like, I need to have more kids. I'm about to lose myself. And I don't want to have more kids.
Yeah, exactly.
But I
yeah.
also don't want to be dependent upon them in order to be okay. That's the real issue.
I think that's a really good. I think that's a really good explanation. Now, for me, and this is a personal belief, for me, it's, and we're gonna get real spiritual, but it's higher self. So, what's made sense to me is looking at whether you want to call it reincarnation or whatever it is, and maybe there's people that don't believe that on here, but I've had millions of meat suits, and I'm evolving to my higher self. But my higher self is in a whole different dimension that is not bound by time, conscious, whatever you want to call it, and is kind of lovingly, or God, you could say it's God, is lovingly looking at me almost, and I like to picture him laughing at me, with my struggles, because here's this guy millions and millions of years ahead, or girl or whatever. I imagine I've had lots of different genders, going through all my different meat suits, and then looking and saying, really, you think this is such a hard struggle? A million meat suits ago, you were in prison, you got your head chopped off, like who knows what.
Yeah.
So it puts it into perspective, and I like to look to my higher self for me, because now it's not such a big deal. It's not just 50 years of programming. This is something that I've been experiencing and working through and evolving to a higher consciousness slowly over millions of years. If that makes sense. So for me, and it's just another way, however people want to believe it, we can do the Christian way, where you have the Holy Spirit that lives in you, so whether you accept Jesus or, God or whatever it is, and then that allows the Holy Spirit to live in you. And then you are not your old self anymore. You are a new creature born through Christ, so Christ consciousness, we could get into that. So, the Holy Spirit, then you look to the Holy Spirit to guide and direct you, in the things that you want to do. To me, that's the same as the higher self or looking to God. That higher person, you are not Dwayne with a bottle in his hand. You are not Dwayne blackout drunk with throw up on the side. Are you in the hospital? And we'll get into those stories some point. You are not any of those things.
Has nothing to do with me. Has nothing to do with my identity.
Right.
Those are things that happen to me as a result of my destructive behavior, my destructive addiction. But yeah, that God consciousness, that the Holy Spirit, the indwelling, I love it. That is what helps me rebuild the structure of my mind. How many millions of times did I have the thought, the conditioned thought, I need that to be okay? Oh, worry about this, worry about this. It's millions of times that my brain
I've worried millions of times.
Has fired these neurological wirings. So we have to recondition the brain with neuroplasticity. The brain can change, grow, and evolve. This is just late 80s. Up until the late 80s, science told us, don't drink the tequila. If you kill your brain cells, you'll never get them back. And science found out that that's not true.
Right.
Scientists that are not interested in spiritual development, they found out, no, you can
Create
rewire your brain. You
pathways,
can create new neurological pathways. It's called neuroplasticity. Takes place in the neocortex, the new brain, and repetition makes that possible. How many millions of times did I have the worrisome thought?
Well, it's like I've told you, and we've talked about this. Funny, all new cells get created like 7 years.
Every 7 years, yeah. Every 7 years,
it's 7.
Your entire body is a brand new body.
So you've been sober for 13 years.
Yeah, so I'm almost 2 new people.
You're almost 2 new people before your body doesn't know alcohol.
Correct. At 7 years sober.
Twice now, your body doesn't know alcohol.
Not a single cell in this body has experienced a drug or alcohol.
Think about that. Like, it's so cool. It's like a new lease on life.
Exactly.
That's
exactly what it is.
And so you stay 7 years sober. It's just your programming in your mind that's saying that you want that drug. You know what I mean? Because nowhere in your body is there any drug.
Because our life and because my inner peace depend on me changing, I'm willing to head down that path.
Yes.
I'm willing to find a new way of living. I have to find a way to live without my whatever desired substance is. Initially, we do it because our life depends on it. If I don't change, I'm going to crash and burn.
So defining the word addiction, to me, and I like what our material says, is addiction can lead to a disconnection from one's true self and higher power. Addiction can lead to a disconnection. I love that word. So let's define addiction in case it's your first time somebody listening to this podcast. It's anything that takes you away from, I like to say it's anything that takes me away from my higher self. It's anything that takes me away from God. It's anything that takes me away from source.
Yeah.
And if I have a pattern of that, then that is an addiction. And my ego wants to take hold of that pattern and then run it loops in my head and cause me to, my ego's in fight with my higher self, kind of. There's like this little, you remember the old cartoons, Porky the Pig? Mm-hmm. Some of you may not remember this, but there was like this.
The devil and the angel.
The devil and the angel, and they're like little pigs. And they would tell him to do this or tell him to do this. So I kind of look at my ego and higher self that way. Which is not necessarily bad and good, because it was so as above, so below. But it's so funny whenever you look at things that are taking you away from God. And then I'm doing these things constantly. Mm-hmm. Well, I have an addiction.
The dependence of this action,
mm-hmm.
the dependence of this substance. Yeah, I have to do this in order to be okay.
I need to get approval from women mm-hmm. so that they like me, so that I feel good about myself. And
that's
so
a very common addiction.
Yeah, I'm manipulating women to get, oh, you're awesome. That's all I want to hear.
I'm just addicted to the approval.
The approval. Yes, there we go.
Yes. And it looks best when it's pretty, when it comes mm-hmm. from someone gorgeous or mm-hmm. someone that I admire. Yeah. I'm just looking for the approval. I don't have self-worth. The addiction, the delusion is I don't have self-worth unless I get her attention.
Yeah, and I didn't realize this pretty heavily. I mean, this was recent, and I've talked to you about this because we share all our drama and problems to each other. But that we had some today that we talked about, so this is continual. But it's so funny because you don't realize you have this until I had somebody that I respected, and they told another person, that person told me about my work and how bad my work is, in their opinion. And that tore me up for a week, solid. I didn't sleep for like 2 days because this person I had respected, they didn't see my value in what I gave. So they thought I was like an amateur when I consider myself an expert in my work. So I really valued that opinion of that person. You see, the external solution to my internal pain or emptiness
wasn't there.
Yes, you see what I'm saying?
You didn't get the approval.
No, I didn't. I needed the approval to feel good. I want everyone to like me.
And then I don't know how to handle the feeling of
mm-hmm.
pain or emptiness.
Yes.
It was the approval that got rid of the pain and emptiness.
Yes.
That's what I'm addicted to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Anything that I'm doing unconsciously in order to make me feel okay.
Because we need to understand this. So basically what we're saying is everybody has an addiction.
Yeah. That's why the podcast, God willing, can be of service to so many.
Yes.
It's not just alcoholism. It's not just sex. It's not just gambling. It's my unconscious conditioned behavior to be separate from.
Yes.
I'm not connected to source. I'm connected to ego in that moment, which makes me separate from source. And usually I'm blind in that behavior. I need that thing, and I'll run you over to get it.
Yeah, I'm not much, but it's all I think about. I love that quote, bro. We got to get it merch.
Long. Yeah.
We got to get like Recovered Addict merch and put that on there.
Only 60,000 times a day. I think
yeah. And I'm the center of attention, and I'm everything. I'm separate. And my problem is the most important thing in the universe. In this vast universe.
Yeah.
Planets are exploding as we speak and creating new galaxies. But no, that's not important. What's important is that this person said some bad things about me to another person, mm-hmm. and it destroyed me. And that was 10 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, I remember that.
That person was a teacher and a catalyst for me to buckle down and say, what do I need to learn from this?
Absolutely.
And we talked about it, 10, 15 times, going over and over again. Why am I seeking approval externally? And I think that was so important what you said. And it says this: addiction can lead us to a disconnection from one's true self and higher power, whatever that may mean to the individual, resulting in spiritual void and suffering. Yes. So talk about spiritual void and suffering.
with enough destructive behavior, enough attachment to the world of form, enough action from my ego, I'm not touching spirit at all. So the spiritual void, I'm not relying upon spirit. I'm not relying upon higher self. I'm relying upon a bottle to make me feel different. I know that that liquid will work. Enough of that behavior becomes my only normal way of living.
Yes.
I don't know any other way to get through the day. I don't know any other way to get approval. I'm going to manipulate. So the spiritual void is I've lived so long in this unconscious, destructive pattern. I don't know any other way to live. And then as a result of the destructive behavior, that creates suffering. Some of my favorite literature says we step on the toes of our fellows and they retaliate. I'm behaving in a selfish way. And
what do you expect?
yeah, I don't know any other way to live.
I'm going to act selfish to another selfish being.
Yes.
Somebody else is in their ego, and I'm going to be big time in my ego, and it's not going to be okay, but I want them to be okay.
But then they retaliate.
Of course.
The world around me starts coming at me.
You're not acting normal,
and
Dwayne.
It creates suffering. My selfishness, my delusion, I cannot see. Wait. You have human feelings too? No, you couldn't possibly have human emotions.
Well, mine are more important.
The only one that has human emotions. Yours don't even count. So I have to get mine. I have to get mine first. Then I have to get mine most. So if that doesn't happen, I take steps to make it happen. And then that pushes the world around me away. That disconnect from the world, that disconnect from source, that disconnect from, reality, that causes suffering.
Yeah, and I like the Buddhist way of suffering. Understand Eckhart totally talks about this too. Is suffering is just not being in the present moment.
Love it. Yeah.
It's so simple.
Yeah.
So when I'm like in the future thinking or in the past thinking when I'm suffering, and I'm like a big monkey, so that helps my brain.
Keep it simple.
Yeah, keep it simple. It's like, why are you feeling self-pity and depression right now, Jason? It's because you feel like you're suffering, that you're separate. What are you dwelling on? Oh, I'm dwelling on this past event that happened. When we were just talking about the guy that I respected that said something bad about me, I even started to get an emotion for that.
Of course. Yeah, you have an energetic response.
It was a small emotion, and I can catch it and know what, that my value is not by them or whatever,
Yes, because you have a spiritual practice.
But it's so funny, even now, a little tweak of that emotion just started to, that little light of my ego just started to kind of peer itself through just by me talking about it.
Yeah, of course. The ego can only exist in the mind. So, of course, I have conditioned behavior to go into my mind and be in the past and be in resentment, or be in the future and be in fear. The ego loves it. The mind loves it because that's the only place the ego can exist. You caught it just now within the 45 seconds we've been talking about this. I'm able to spot the thought, know that that's not real, that's not who I am, it's just a thought, and then turn towards spiritual solution, which is I'm the aware space for that thought. We were just talking about this in the gym. This is a helpful tool that I use when I'm present enough to use it, that helps pull me back off the ledge. And there are 3 levels to every scenario. Level number 1 is the situation. The situation is this individual slandered me behind my back. Level number 2 is my energetic response to the situation. Anger, resentment, fear, betrayal.
The fear of not being good enough.
Fear of not being good enough. That's excellent and more specific. So that's level number 1, the situation. Level number 2 is my energetic response to the situation. That's as far as most human beings ever get, especially if I'm in a delusional addiction Of course, I'm not going to take responsibility and look any further than that. Now, what's level number 3? Level number 3 is we like to do big breath, the aware space for both those levels. I'm the awareness that gets to see the anger, observe the anger. I'm the awareness that gets to observe the situation, observe the situation.
Taking space and pulling yourself back.
In that moment, if I can separate from those two levels, that's freedom.
Yes.
My identity is not wrapped up in the situation of this person slandering me. My identity is not wrapped up in my emotion of anger. It's not who I am. I am the aware space for both those things. That's freedom. That's foundational freedom. I can build on bedrock if I'm coming from the source.
So this is very, very practical, and this is going to help a lot of people. So I want people to understand this. So you're in level 1, level 2. That's where people exist.
Most people exist. That's all they ever get.
Yeah, that's the ego. The world is real.
Most people don't know they're not their thoughts.
Yeah, let that sink in.
We're very interested in going way beyond the thinking mind.
So level 1, level 2, I got the emotional response, and we'll just play with my thing. Okay, what really trigger was an upper limit problem is I'm not good enough. Mm-hmm. So that's my trigger for just about everything. So that's fear-based of I'm not good enough. So this person triggered that. So in this trigger, I can identify with that emotion and say, this is me, where that's the level 2. That's where most people stay at. So now I need to react to this false sense of self. It's not real, but I'm pretending like it's real because that's my matrix. I just took the wrong pill, the blue pill or whatever, the red pill. And so now I'm acting in this. And so my reactions are going to be, well, I'd like to fight him. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like if I could fist fight him, that would be great, or let's do a duel, or something, you know what I mean? And that's kind of more of like a male part of things. A female maybe to like in the feminine nature, maybe like to withdraw, to be hurt, which I experience all those things as fearful. I don't want to talk to that person. My fear is going to be in that arena. So taking that space, what you were talking about is so important, and not identifying with it and pulling yourself back, and then just, and Eckhart Tolle talks about being the observer.
Yes, exactly.
And what does that look like when you can take, I'm at level 1, level 2, and I'm not identifying with it. I'm taking a breath and I'm looking at that emotion. And you said something very powerful. I want you to talk about it. Is that's not real.
That's not real. What is that? That's a crazy thought. What is that? That's just, I'm dealing with some plumbing issues at one of my investment properties currently. And it had and has the power to take over my identity. Situation, ruptured pipes, energetic response, fear. I have to spend some money. I'm worried now. Now, if I go down the rabbit hole with the situation, if I go down the rabbit hole with my fear,
so
I lose myself.
Yeah, we'll be a little bit vulnerable because this is fun because I know you really well. So going down the rabbit hole for you, and this doesn't appear to be bad with anybody. This is actually praised in the world. You is saying, I need to grin and bear it. I need to go find another way where I can earn thousands of dollars to fix the pipes. So I'm going to, as Abraham Hicks says, or Esther Hicks, if you guys have listened to her, she's great. I'm going to paddle as hard as I can upstream.
Yeah.
And I am going to do this. And I'm going to work super hard. I'm going to go kill myself physically and work till 2 or 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Just so I can make this even.
Totally. That's been my literal experience. I would work at a restaurant from 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. after doing a normal 9 to 5 on Fridays and Saturdays.
Well, it's not even a normal 9 to 5 because you're getting there at 5 a.m.
5 a.m. at the gym, and then
all the way to 3 a.m. the next day.
And then do
that's not normal.
Do almost 28 hours in 2 days at a different job.
Yeah, that's not
so I can
sustainable.
If I have this outside money, then I'll be okay. So it was part of my delusion. It was part of my seeking, part of my addiction, part of my seeking outside thing to make me okay. And then
And I always, you've told me this, and it's like, where's God in any of that?
none. It's not there. It's not present at all. If I'm connected to source, I'm connected to infinite abundance.
Yes.
Infinite abundance is going to take care of me no matter what. But coming from that place takes practice. I'm very practiced at coming from fear. I need to do something about this, then I'll work really hard and make it happen. That like you said, it's praised in America. Normal people say, well, go get another job.
Yeah, just keep working.
Instead of coming from source, coming from connectedness, knowing that I'm going to be okay regardless of these pipes. I'm going to be okay regardless of that extra job. I'm okay regardless of what my job is.
Mm-hmm.
Am I identified with my job or not? If not, I need to come from the place of source in order to experience peace.
Now, somebody may be listening to this and they're just sitting around all day on their couch and smoking weed or being paranoid and doing coke or, drinking all the time. And they're like, well, I don't need to get a job, or whatever. No, the thing that you need to do is be productive. So there's this other side where, you have the entrepreneurial type, that archetype, that's going to grin and bear it and do it. God's not involved in that. Then you have the other side of the person who's super lazy, just sitting around. And some of you are listening to this are doing that. You're just sitting smoking weed all day into oblivion. And I see a lot of people that can function with weed.
Yeah.
But they have a major addiction to weed.
Yeah.
It's same with alcohol.
If I'm not high all day, I'm not okay.
Yeah. I need to take the pen to work. I need to do, I carry this pen with me.
Totally.
Oh my God, I can't find my phone. We're addicted to our phones. Oh my God, I can't find my pen or my phone. I need these two things. And so I'm running into the bathroom, smoking weed. I'm going outside. And so I'm constantly, you saw this in the restaurant industry, I'm just constantly high 24/7.
Absolutely.
All you did was replace alcoholism with weedism, You just became a drug addict.
Yeah. And it's scary. It's even more scary now because they'll give you a card. They'll say,
100%.
Say, here,
it's legal.
It's legal. Go for it.
The same as alcohol.
Have as much as you want. You have PTSD. Oh, here's more.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And if again, we like to prompt the question, am I the victim of my life or am I the creator of my life? That answer is simple for us. But that's because I'm interested in making inner peace a priority in my life. I'm interested in honoring the part of me that is whole. If I don't know any better, I'm still behaving in a destructive, closed-minded, unconscious, addicted way because that substance makes me feel different. I don't have to feel a fear.
I don't have to think.
I can check out.
Yep.
Yeah. So it doesn't really matter what the substance is. Weed, alcohol, cocaine, doesn't matter. The behavior is unconscious. And really what we're discussing is being addicted to being in my unconscious. I'm just addicted to living in that low level existence. I'm used to the feelings of fear. I'm used to the feelings of worry. I'm used to needing to check out from those feelings. What can I do? Anything you got, just give me more of it.
and that's because, like we were saying earlier, to get back to, the whole premise of this, that's because I feel like I'm suffering.
Yeah, your perceived suffering.
Yeah, I feel like I'm suffering, so I'm going to check out with this.
Yes.
I've had a really hard week. It's been really tough. I'm just going to lay around, for 2 or 3 days, eat really bad junk food and watch Netflix and just binge. No, that's okay every once in a while if you plan it and you figure it out. Sometimes I'll do that.
Sure.
I mean, there's healthy ways to that. But if that's your way to cope, it's just smoking weed and binging out on Netflix and hanging out on your phone, I think they said the other day the average 20-year-old spends like 8 hours on their phone or longer. And then on TikTok, it's like crazy the amount of hours that teenagers are spending on TikTok. I mean, it's hours and hours and hours every single day. Yeah. Well, there's an addiction there. I'm not going to be whole, or I won't have peace, or I'm suffering if I don't have my phone.
Yeah, lose it without my phone.
So that's an addiction.
Absolutely. And, am I seeking responsibility or not? If I'm the victim of my life, then there's no way I'm willing to adopt responsibility for my life. It's your fault. If you were different, I would be okay. If the government was different, I would be okay. If my parents were different, I would be okay. If I had more money, I would be okay. I'm still just the victim of my life. That existence is low level. That existence is unconscious. And that creates my perceived suffering. So of course I'll grab the phone in order to feel something different. I don't know any other better way to be. Seeking spiritual principles, seeking responsibility presents me with a different approach to life. I no longer get to blame all of these outside things for how I'm feeling on the inside. I have to take responsibility for what's going on the inside of me. Whether I'm staying on the couch watching Netflix all day or whether I'm working 80 hours a week in order to be busy and not feel. I don't have to worry about my problems. I'm too busy. So that's, again, the yin yang we're talking about.
Well, it's the same thing. People don't understand this. The 80 hours a week is you doing something to avoid.
Correct. Feeling what's really going on.
Yeah. And then you have an excuse, just like with any addiction, is to say, well, don't you see I'm suffering? I working 80 hours a week. You can't understand how important I am and all the things that I'm doing. And this is, to support a family or support whatever.
Look at all the things I'm doing for you.
Yes, yeah. Look at all the sacrifice I've given, which nothing we do in our zone of genius, and we'll get into zone of genius later, but nothing we do in our zone of genius is sacrifice.
No, it's joy.
It's pure joy and just pure serving others, as this podcast is. So we've gone over an hour. So I want to, we're going to do recovery in this context of the spiritual dimension. We'll get into that a little bit on the next episode, and kind of get a little bit more detailed in this journey. But I do want to say this before we close out, Joanne, and maybe you can just talk real quickly to this. If somebody's listening to this podcast and you know somebody, maybe you're like, obviously I have an addiction, but you have 5, 10, 15, 20 other friends, share this.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the number one thing you can do to help us. We're not asking for any money or anything like that. We want this word to get out, and we believe that this is the way that you can cure your addiction.
Yeah. It's a beautiful platform that you are very well versed with, Jason, and it's an honor to get to be a part of something like this. Now, especially in 2023, how many people can receive a message or receive a solution to perhaps a deathly illness?
Yeah, and you don't know, by sharing the information, you don't know what impact that can have on somebody's life.
Yeah.
So, like you told me today, you shared the podcast through Spotify real quick.
Mm-hmm.
We have Spotify video, YouTube video, or, we on Instagram video, we have it all. Reels and all that stuff, and YouTube shorts. So just taking the time to share that with somebody can help change their life.
Yeah, you never know. You might be the first message, or you might be the first line of hope that someone needed in order to save their life.
Because you don't know, and you've known this when you're an alcoholic, what that person said to you, how much it meant to them. They just said something to you, but it changed your life forever.
Yeah, absolutely reshaped my reality. And a tool like this might get to help someone in that way.